Merry Christmas here on Who Addicts Reviews. Christmas has begun here in the Wilson household as we have got up now the Christmas tree. So join me for week 2 of Matt Smith month of our Matt Smith Review Week, where today I'll be reviewing a Neil Gaiman classic, one of the greatest episodes in Doctor Who history, in my opinion. Join me as I review The Doctor's Wife. So then guys, here we go, beginning my review of The Doctor's Wife. Now, could this room get any more cheesier? I don't think so. We've got the Christmas tree up here. Me and my girlfriend decorated that ourselves, we're quite proud of it. And also, here is our Christmas hat dangling off the edge of the television screen. Haha! Could this room get any more cheesier? I don't think so. Very joyfully, sexily Christmassy in here. A lot of E words. But anyway, beginning my review, I thought I'd just get the cast and the premise out of the way. Playing the 11th Doctor is is Matt Smith, and also playing Amy Pond once again is Karen Gillan, and Arthur Darvill as Rory Williams. But we had a guest stars in this episode today. Saran Jones, who some of you may know from the ITV drama Scott and Bailey, which she played alongside the woman who played Sky Silvestri from Series 4's Midnight. So in the film industry in Britain, no one is really that far away from Doctor Who, if you think about it. And also really Saran Jones, she's no stranger to the Doctor Who universe, as she did play Mona Lisa in the opening episodes of the Sarah Jane Adventures. So that really was just brilliant, and she's really not that far away from Doctor Who, but in this episode she got to play a much more heartwarming character, and a character that was bigger on the inside. But anyway, Michael Sheen, who I was surprised when I found out this was him, who was a very well-known actor. He lends his voice to play the villain of this episode, House, and I will get to who he is in a minute. But yes, so the premise is basically that a brief outline is that the Doctor finds a distress beacon supposedly sent out by another Time Lord, and he actually does think that there are other Time Lords out there. He wants forgiveness for what he did in the Time War, which was something that Matt Smith's Doctor doesn't really do very much. So he tracks it to its source, and he finds this planet just outside of the solar system that basically is possessing this planet, and its people is this creature called House, voiced by Michael Sheen. Basically emits this green light sort of thing, and there they meet a bitey mad lady, Idris, and the 3 other inhabitants, an Ood, nephew, and auntie and uncle. 3 very bizarre people, and very Burton-esque this episode was. And anyway, starting it off is basically the set and props in this episode were seriously just amazing. That's all I can say about it. Amazing. There wasn't one moment where I didn't think, that prop's not looking too convincing. It's not very often that I actually look at an episode and think, that prop's a bit bad. I hate this episode just because of that. But honestly, the set and props, it's not very often I point this out, but the locations were just amazing, and so you can tell a lot of thought went into this, and Neil Gaiman really did. Oh yes, sorry. The episode is written by Neil Gaiman, who was mostly known for writing books. He did actually write 2 books that have been made into films already. Coraline, I think he'd written, and also Stardust as well, into blockbuster films. So really, he's quite a well-known writer, and it really is quite bizarre that he'd do a Doctor Who episode, but it just shows how many people actually love Doctor Who, and he has written such a just a denting episode right here. But what I mean by denting is that it actually made a difference to Doctor Who history. This is actually going to go down in history as the episode where the TARDIS became a woman. the Doctor actually spoke to his time machine for the very, very first time. And it really was just amazing to watch. And again, great casting from Saran Jones to play the TARDIS, because there was such back and forth between them, which I will get to. But anyway, so Amy, the Doctor had to then get rid of Amy and Rory just for a short while, so that he could get right down to this Time Lord distress beacon business. And may I just say that when the Doctor finds out that no Time Lords are really there, it was just all a trick. Honestly, the anger that went through to Matt Smith there was just honestly amazing. I love it when he gets angry. Matthew might actually get down to this a bit more in A Good Man Goes to War, but the moments where Matt Smith's Doctor is actually getting angry, those are the moments I cherish, because it's very rare that we see the 11th Doctor not acting like a tit. But he really was angry at this particular moment, and he really was amazing. And these are just the moments where his ancient 1200-year-old self really does come out in that particular instance. But anyway, so Amy and Rory are trapped in the TARDIS, and House ends up possessing the TARDIS. So the Doctor and Idris/TARDIS have to come up with a plan to save them. And right from the get-go, there was just so much banter and just so much back and forth between them, and really it was just amazing to watch. I mean, it's a very rare thing that we get to see, and the Doctor finally got to ask the TARDIS questions that he'd never get to ask before. That was probably the most attracting thing to Moffat about adding this into the series, just to say to him, this is quite interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the Doctor would finally ask these inevitable questions that the Doctor's always wanted to ask the TARDIS. Those things that have really narked them about him. And the Doctor just says, 700 years, not very often you get to talk, so you have not been very reliable. They nag. And Idris also points out, quite stupidly, that you have always pushed the doors open when the sign clearly says pull. And it's just one of those old couple bickerings that really does happen. And they technically are an old married couple, possibly the oldest married couple in history. You know, I mean, the Doctor is literally married to the TARDIS, and it was brilliant how Neil Gaiman just had written in such an episode that had just put across how actually old they are together. Just, you know, I can just imagine them sat on a park bench just arguing about who makes the sandwiches. Just, this cheese isn't good, take it back. So, honestly, just such an old married couple-esque sort of thing in this episode, which I enjoyed from start to finish. And also, the scenes with Amy and Rory in the TARDIS, where the House had possessed the TARDIS, was honestly very, very chilling and very, very scary. It really was. I mean, it's brilliantly ironic as well, because the TARDIS is always meant to be the safest haven in the universe, and yet House has made it so scary and just so uninhabitable, you know. And Amy and Rory are literally fighting for their lives in a place where they usually feel the safest in. And it really is amazing. Just the sequence where they're running through the corridors, and Amy is getting separated by Rory, and he keeps getting older and older and older. And once again, Rory dies. But Neil Gaiman continuing the long tradition of Rory dying. But honestly, Matthew had actually pointed this out many times. It was that the scariness of Amy kill Amy, just pasted across the walls. And what used to be Rory just along the wall, just House just playing with their minds, and that was honestly a great moment. And I love this entire sequence of Amy and Rory just basically just suffering for their lives, and they are getting, actually their minds are getting twisted in so many ways, and it really was just very scary, very frightening, and that's what Doctor Who does best, and I just love it. And to see the TARDIS more as a character rather than a time machine, it's made me rethink what I think of the TARDIS. You know, it's made me rethink how I think of this time machine, because we do take it for granted. I mean, from now on, I will always call the TARDIS a character, because without the TARDIS, what is the Doctor? He's just some... What the TARDIS is what we actually tune in every week to see, because that is actually the thing that actually takes the Doctor to the places that he needs to go. And And to see them as a character, I'm never going to underestimate the TARDIS ever again. Thank you, Neil Gaiman, because you have made me rethink this brilliant time machine. You have made me rethink it forever. Thank you very much. And anyway, we're getting very close to the end, don't worry. And also, the last confrontation between the Doctor and Idris was probably the most emotional of Matt's entire tenure. No, sorry, Rings of Akaten. Rings of Akaten, that's probably the most emotional of his career so far as the Doctor. But really, that was actually the first time I'd ever seen the 11th Doctor shed a tear. You know, and that's a sight that I will always remember. You know, the Idris just, the Doctor saying goodbye, and he doesn't want it to go. Even though the TARDIS will always be there in the form of of its original home, the TARDIS, it will always be there, but that was the last time that the Doctor will ever actually be able to talk to the TARDIS. And I think at that point it was a gut feeling for the Doctor that just thought, wow, I do take the TARDIS for granted sometimes. And that really was just so emotional. I shed a tear myself. And it really was just brilliant, just great acting all around from Saran Jones and the Doctor, Matt Smith, just back and forth between all of them. And of course, Amy and Rory were in a very strong sort of situation there, and a very scary one at that. But anyway, on to my conclusion for The Doctor's Wife. This was one of those rare episodes that could never happen again and only be written by eccentric writer Neil Gaiman himself. He has written a story that has made me rethink this amazing time machine that I think we have taken for granted for so many years. The Doctor's need to be forgiven by his own people proved he still thinks about the Time War even then. I say then because obviously in the Day of the Doctor, the Time Lords are alive now. Anyway, the scenes with Amy and Rory inside House were scary and chilling, which was brilliantly ironic considering the TARDIS is meant to be the safest haven in the universe. The scenes with the Doctor / Idris were funny, with great back and forths between the pair, and the ending was especially emotional, and it showed that the Doctor's true love for the TARDIS move aside River Song, because the TARDIS is who the Doctor's real love of his life is. This episode was hard for Gaiman. This episode was hard for Gaiman to beat. This is an ep that makes a dent in Doctor Who history forever. 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'm James Wilson, and enjoy the rest of Matt Smith Review Week here on Who Addicts Reviews. Merry Christmas, guys. Ho ho ho.